Hey, Cowboys Nation. Let's talk about where the Dallas Cowboys stand right now and what's going on in the NFC because, honestly, it's a wide-open race. There's no team that's completely dominating, no unstoppable juggernauts out there. And that actually works in Dallas's favor because they have the talent and the potential to make a big push. Dak Prescott is playing at an MVP level right now, throwing with precision, making the right reads, and keeping this offense humming. But while the offense is clicking, the real question is about the defense, specifically the edge rushers, and how much impact they're having in creating pressure and changing games. The Cowboys have some pieces that are promising, but there's no clear-cut, game-breaking edge presence that forces offenses to adjust their protection schemes or take risks because they know someone is coming off the edge who can completely disrupt a play. Looking at the numbers, it's clear that there's work to do. Dante Fowler has generated 14 pressures, which comes out to about a 13% pressure rate among the edge rushers. Sam Williams has 11 pressures, around 10.5%, and James Houston has 8 pressures with 14.8%. Donovan is holding steady with 8 pressures at 8.3%, while Janavion Clown has 4 pressures at 11.4%, and Marshawn Elland is at 3 pressures with 5.5%. These numbers, taken from PFF, show that while there's production, it's scattered and no single player is demanding constant attention. The Cowboys need that disruptive force that can shift the dynamic of the entire defensive front. Right now, Houston and Fowler are solid contributors, but neither is a perfect two-way player. When it comes to run support, they leave gaps that offenses can exploit, and that limits how often they can be deployed without creating vulnerabilities elsewhere on the field. The edge room is intriguing, but a bit of a paradox. On paper, there are 6 players who can rotate and contribute, which sounds great, but in reality, none of them is a definitive number one. That's the kind of player who changes the conversation, the kind of edge rusher who draws double teams, commands attention, and opens up opportunities for everyone else on the defensive front. Right now, the Cowboys don't have that. And when you think about making a move to acquire that player, it's easier said than done. The goal isn't just to fill a spot. It's about transforming the unit into a real threat. Trading for someone who could be that impact edge rusher requires aiming high, looking for a player who can shift the balance and elevate the whole defense. When it comes to potential targets, Trey Hendrickson comes to mind immediately. He's putting up solid numbers with 13 tackles, 4 sacks, and a pressure rate of 14.3%. The Bengals are in a tough spot, especially after a strong start with 2 wins, but injuries have created instability, and the team may be open to discussions. The prorated cost is significant but manageable at around $16 million, which could be justified if he immediately upgrades the Cowboys' pass rush. There are questions about fit and cost, especially when you consider how trading for him could impact salary cap flexibility and what the team would give up in draft capital. But Hendrickson could be the kind of player who instantly addresses a glaring weakness and creates a ripple effect across the defense. Then there are the Dolphins' edge options, like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. Phillips is a fascinating case because he's showing a high pressure rate and has just gotten his first sack of the season. He's slated to become a free agent soon, which makes his trade potential real, though cost and contract considerations might make the move less straightforward. Chubb is a veteran presence with a slightly lower pressure rate, but his ability to finish plays is notable. Both could be targets if the price is right, particularly for mid-level draft picks, which the Cowboys could be willing to exchange to strengthen their edge rotation. The key is evaluating whether the investment translates to meaningful improvements in game impact, both in terms of disrupting passing attacks and shoring up run defense. The Saints offer a few intriguing options as well, with Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson being players who could be considered if Dallas wants to explore edge help outside of the top-tier names. Jordan brings experience, but may be approaching the tail end of his peak, while Granderson's production is strong, but comes with some questions about sustainability. Both could be affordable in terms of contract structure, but whether they're the type of transformative pieces the Cowboys need is a matter for deeper analysis. Beyond the big names, there are younger or less established players who might present value opportunities, like Kayvon Thibodeaux from the Giants or Will McDonald IV from the Jets. Thibodeau is a player with potential who has shown flashes, though he's competing for snaps behind other established edge rushers. McDonald is cheap, under team control, and has demonstrated moments of impact, even if his consistency isn't fully there yet. These types of players represent lower risk, high upside moves that could pay dividends if the development trajectory is managed correctly. At the end of the day, the Cowboys' edge situation is a puzzle with multiple paths. Do they go all in on a high-impact veteran who can immediately change the defense? Or do they explore younger, controlled assets who could grow into the role over time? The answer depends on balancing immediate needs with long-term planning. They're not far off in terms of talent, but the difference between a good edge room and a great one is having that one player who forces offenses to adjust, who creates chaos, and who elevates the entire defensive unit. Right now, that player doesn't exist in Dallas, which is why the trade conversations and roster evaluations are so critical. Every move, every acquisition, has ripple effects across the defense. The Cowboys have to weigh pressure rates, sack potential, run support, contract implications, and draft capital. They have to consider the balance of immediate impact versus sustainable growth. It's a delicate dance, and the stakes are high, because while Dak and the offense can carry a team for a while, games are often won in the trenches by the edge rushers who dictate the tempo and the pressure. Making the right addition could shift Dallas from a team with potential to a team that actually contends. So when you look at the current landscape, it's clear that the NFC is wide open, the Cowboys have talent, and the need for a transformative edge presence is urgent. The discussion isn't just about adding bodies. It's about identifying the player who can redefine how the defense operates, who forces the opposing quarterback to hesitate, and who gives the entire front seven the freedom to maximize their impact. Whether it's Hendrickson, Chubb, Phillips, or a younger option like McDonald, the Cowboys' decision-making process will be crucial in shaping the trajectory of this season and beyond. The next move could determine whether Dallas stays on the outside looking in, or whether they become a true contender in a conference that's still wide open, full of opportunity, and begging for a team to seize the moment. Continuing on this edge discussion, the beauty of having someone like Dak Prescott leading the offense is that it allows the defense some breathing room, but it also raises expectations. Every time the Cowboys step onto the field, there's an anticipation that they can compete with the best. That expectation magnifies the impact of small margins. If an edge rusher can create a couple more pressures per game, force a quarterback into mistakes, or even just command attention so that other defenders can make plays, it elevates the entire unit. And that's the difference between a team that's competitive and a team that's truly dangerous. Right now, the Cowboys have talent in pieces, but the kind of player who can force constant adjustment from opposing offenses simply isn't there yet. Now, looking at some of the younger or less heralded options, there's a real opportunity to add value with the right scouting and timing. Will McDonald, for instance, represents a player who is under team control, cost-effective, and has shown flashes of impact. His pressure rates might not blow anyone away yet, but he's the kind of player whose ceiling could be very high if utilized correctly. Dallas has always had a knack for developing players with potential into game changers, and someone like McDonald could be a low-risk, high-upside piece that fits perfectly into their rotation. Kayvon Thibodeau from the Giants is another example. He's competing for snaps behind established veterans, but with the right coaching and opportunity, he could become a more consistent factor in the pass rush. These are the types of players that make sense when you're balancing salary cap considerations and future draft flexibility with the need for immediate defensive improvement. Contract situations and cap management play an enormous role in all of this. The Cowboys can't just bring in any edge rusher. They have to be mindful of long-term implications. Trading for someone with a big price tag might solve a current problem, but could limit flexibility in other areas of the roster. Conversely, targeting younger, control players provides room to maneuver while also building depth. Players like Jalen Phillips or Bradley Chubb from the Dolphins are interesting because they have production and are established, but the cost and potential disruption to the cap and draft strategy must be weighed carefully. Phillips has a high pressure rate and recently recorded his first sack of the season, signaling that he could contribute immediately. Chubb offers finishing ability on pressures, which is critical for turning plays into sacks and creating momentum. Both have potential, but the key question is whether the Cowboys are willing to invest the necessary resources to bring them in and whether the immediate upgrade justifies that investment. In addition to numbers and contracts, there's also the intangible impact of leadership and presence on the field. Veteran edge rushers like Cam Jordan or Carl Granderson bring experience, which can stabilize a rotation and provide guidance for younger players. Jordan is affordable and still productive, but he's likely nearing the end of his peak, and there's a question of whether he can consistently generate the type of disruptive plays that would make the Cowboys' edge group elite. Granderson has been producing sacks, but his pressure rates suggest that while he's making plays, he's not constantly forcing adjustments from opposing quarterbacks. The challenge is identifying players who combine production, reliability, and the ability to elevate those around them. Dallas has to think strategically about timing, too. Trading midseason for a top-tier player isn't always feasible, especially when teams are hesitant to part with key assets. The Raiders' and Max Crosby situation is a perfect example. He's arguably one of the top 5 edge rushers in football, with the ability to both pressure the quarterback and support the run. But a mid-season trade is unlikely given that he was just re-signed and the Raiders are still trying to navigate their own season. Waiting until the offseason could open opportunities, but it also means operating under the risk that other teams make moves first or that player valuations shift. It's a delicate balance between striking while the iron is hot and being patient enough to make a calculated move. Depth also matters, especially in a league where injuries are inevitable. Rotational edge players are essential, but the rotation only works when there's at least 1 or 2 players who can consistently demand attention. Without that, opposing quarterbacks can ignore the other players and focus on exploiting weaknesses elsewhere. That's why this isn't just a numbers game. It's about identifying the right mix of talent, skill set, and situational awareness. It's about making sure that each player contributes to a cohesive defensive strategy, elevates teammates, and creates pressure that leads to turnovers, sacks, and disrupted timing. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The NFL world is buzzing with shockwaves this morning as whispers from inside sources suggest a stunning development. STEFON DIGGS, one of the league's most electrifying wide receivers, may have just inked a lightning-fast agreement with the Dallas Cowboys. The news, though not yet officially confirmed, has set social media ablaze and left fans of multiple teams scrambling to process the possibility. DIGGS, who has been a standout for the Buffalo Bills, has long been linked to trade speculation, but few could have anticipated such a sudden pivot toward America's team. Sources claim the negotiations moved at an unprecedented pace, with talks reportedly beginning late last night and a deal being finalized in mere hours, a scenario that NFL insiders are calling almost unheard of in modern football. The Cowboys, known for bold moves under owner Jerry Jones, could be positioning themselves for a massive offensive shakeup heading into the next season. While Cantala is one of the most formidable receiving duos in the league, capable of stretching defenses and creating highlight reel plays on a weekly basis. Speculation is rampant about how this could impact the NFC East landscape, with rivals like the Eagles and Giants likely bracing for a major offensive threat. Of course, it's important to note that nothing has been officially announced. Yet, the mere rumor has ignited debates across sports networks, fan forums, and Twitter feeds. Analysts are already dissecting potential impacts, from play-calling strategies to locker room chemistry. The question on everyone's mind, can DIGGS' electric presence mesh seamlessly with Prescott's style, or will the rapid pace of this agreement introduce unforeseen challenges? For now, the NFL community watches with bated breath. If the whispers hold any truth, the Dallas Cowboys may have just pulled off one of the most audacious moves of the offseason, and STEFON DIGGS could be the newest centerpiece of franchise hungry for a return to glory. Whether it's hype or reality, one thing is certain. The rumor mill has never been this thrilling. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.